Hey, welcome to Surviving Motherhood. So, I've got a question for you. How's your heart? And I don't mean how's your heart like are you feeling happy or sad. I mean, what is the condition of your heart? It's an important question, and that's why I'm asking it. See, last week I was at the rescue mission teaching chapel for the women, and we were looking at Matthew chapter 13. I want to read that for you. Not the whole chapter, but some of it. We start off with verse 1. It says, "That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore." And you may be unaware, you may be surprised to find out that what I just read to you indicates that what Jesus was about to say was really important. The reason I say that is because we see in verse 1 that Jesus sat by the lake, and in verse 2 we see that he got into a boat and sat in it. See, the thing is, today when we go to church or we go to hear somebody speaking and we're expecting to hear something good, they tend to be up on a platform, standing up behind a podium, and we tend to be sitting in the pews or the auditorium, wherever we are. But in Jesus' day, they didn't do it like that. In Jesus' day, when a rabbi had something really important to say, he sat down. So here, 2 times in as many verses, we see Jesus sitting down, and all the people are gathered around standing to listen to him because he had something important to say. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear." And it's with that last statement that we get the other indication that Jesus was serious about what he was saying. Because, it sounds kind of like a nonsense statement, I think, when it's in English. He who has ears, let him hear. Most people, unless they're deaf or have an impairment, but most people who have ears, they hear things, right? Except for the Greek for that word hear doesn't simply mean hear. It doesn't mean audibly hear things. It means what you audibly hear, consider it in your head. Think about what is being said. Try to understand it. You see the difference? So Jesus first is sitting down. So by his posture, he's indicating what he's about to say is important. And then he says it. And then he says, if you're hearing me, if you're listening to this, you've got ears, think about it. Consider it. Try to understand it. Now, if you're familiar at all with that passage, you know that his disciples didn't really understand it. They had to get a little more education from their master. But Jesus went on to tell them, look, the seed that is sown is the word of God. And then he told them about the 4 different conditions of people's hearts, the soil. There was the soil, or there's the heart that was hardened, that wasn't interested in hearing the word of God, that wasn't interested in knowing it, that just was not interested. And so the devil came and stole that word away. There was the heart that was like the rocky ground. It was shallow. It heard the word. It was like, yeah, this sounds great. But it didn't receive it really. It didn't go deep. It didn't study. It didn't try to understand. It didn't make the word become a part of who it was. And so troubles came and, that person fell away. And then there was the seed that fell among the thorns, which choked it out, which represented people who are all caught up in cares and concerns of the world, who they're not necessarily opposed to the Word of God, but they're way too attached to the world, and so the world chokes out the Word of God. And then there was the fourth group, the good soil. They were the hearts that were ready to hear it, that received the word, that studied it, that didn't just sit there and listen to it once and say, okay, cool, and go on with life. They really got into the word. They made it a part of who they were. They asked God, show me what you want me to know. Holy Spirit, move in me, change me, make me more like you, Jesus. And that's the good soil. And Jesus was really concerned about this. He sat down to show the people that he had something important to say. He said it. And then he said, what I just said, what you've just heard, I want you to think about it. I want you to understand it. I want it to become part of who you are. And that's why I'm asking you today, how's your heart? Would you say your heart is more like the path? Not interested, not willing to hear what God says? Is it more like the rocky soil that says, oh yeah, this sounds great, but that's where I'm leaving it. I'm going to hold on to good feelings rather than making it a part of who you are, rather than studying it? Or is your heart like that soil that's among the thorns that is too concerned about the world, is too concerned about what other people think, what's going on, to really embrace the Word of God? Or is your heart like the good soil? Are you receiving His Word? Are you studying? Are you talking to Him and reasoning it and talking to other people about it? Are you really digging in to the Word of God? It's important that you do that. I know, because Jesus said so. And so, I invite you to consider the condition of your heart today. I invite you to invite Him to change you, to make you who He wants you to be. I pray that your heart will be tender and sensitive to His. Now you go, have a wonderful, Jesus-ful day, and let His Word change your heart.